Ladies and gentlemen, this RedGamerTed.com video, I'm going to be weighing in on my thoughts on the Xbox One. Obviously now it's been a few days since the initial announcement, and I know I waited a couple of days, but I wanted to let the dust settle, let the rumours settle down a little bit, and more information leak out. Obviously now we have more solid specifications, we have Microsoft somewhat clarifying their position on used games, although they're still somewhat up in the air about it, which I don't really like. And we have some comments, some interviews, and we can generally make a more informed opinion than what we could just a couple of short days ago. Now obviously I am willing to create another video on E3, after E3 shall I say, because quite simply put, it's a games console, and well, we have to judge it on the games, but right now I want to make my initial thoughts known. Now for anyone hoping for me to either rag on the system or to be very generous to the system, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not going to come down either side. I have my trepidations on the system, quite honestly. Basically, I like certain things about the system, and I also have certain, let's go with hesitations on the system as well. So, I think the first thing we're going to quickly discuss, although I've already gone over this in another video, and I no doubt that I'm going to analyze it some more further in the next couple, are the specifications. I'm going to do this fairly briefly because, as I said, I made a video yesterday on that. I don't dislike the specifications of the Xbox One, but I also get the feeling that some of the stuff could well bite them in the buttocks, especially when it comes to the graphics cores. Now, I'm not sure how much that's going to really make a difference. There was actually something I forgot to add in yesterday's video, and that is one of the benefits of the somewhat less GCN cores, which in other words graphics cores, is that, quite simply put, they're going to need less bandwidth than the PS4, because obviously the PS4 has more, therefore it has more memory requirements off the bat. Just how much of a disparity there will be between available memory bandwidth and what's needed, however, and of course the small buffer, the ES buffer that the Xbox One actually has, it's unknown. I don't know how much of a big deal the less GCN cores are going to be. Obviously, Microsoft are somewhat happy about the whole cloud computing thing. I'm got some trepidations on that, honestly. I don't know how to really say this other than I'm just not sure about it. There are certainly benefits to it, and I can see in certain, let's say, high level, or should I say high player matches, for example, if you're playing, I don't know, Battlefield 4, 64 players, I can definitely see that cloud computing would be absolutely phenomenal on that. I could also see it for AI, maybe other stuff as well, such as atmosphere and weather. However, because of internet connections, latency and so on, I don't really know how well it's going to do. Generally speaking, online computation, it'd be something like, let's say I wanted to, I don't know, render a large 3D file. I would upload that to a server, and those studios, or those companies basically hire out their computing power. You upload it to the server, it will do the mathematics, because obviously if it's something like a Disney Pixar film, just for example, it requires a higher level of computational power. And so obviously you need to upload it to the server and have it do its thing. In other words, it doesn't need to keep spitting out the data to you. It's not like here's information, I want it back, here's information, I want it back, as a continuous progress. Indeed, most of the time you would simply upload it and just kind of let it do its thing. A little bit like I do with YouTube. I upload the video and it processes it as I upload it, and then it does the final bit of processing, depending on how Google have basically fed the hamsters that day in their servers, in other words, how busy they are. I can sometimes wait 1 minute, or I can sometimes wait, 10 to 20 minutes to even a couple of hours, depending obviously on the footage I upload and so on as well. So I'm not really sure about the whole cloud thing. So I'm not really going to weigh in too much on that, because at the moment it's somewhat up in the air. So I think there are a couple of things that people are really questioning right now. first of all, Microsoft's vision. Now, I'm not sure exactly how you guys are going to take this. I was watching it, and I don't have a problem specifically with the whole HDMI in and so forth. But here's the thing. I don't need it. My TV has several HDMI inputs. It has component as well. If I did decide to... Let's say I did buy the Xbox. I don't really see it giving me any benefit over... a TV box, a cable box, or anything else, really. I just don't see it. Okay, they are telling me that it's smart with its decisions in terms of, what programs it helps me like and all of that, but I don't know about that because, honestly speaking, it's not anything groundbreaking. Netflix does a fairly decent job. Just for example, Amazon does a fairly decent job. Even the Play Store, talking of course about Google, does a reasonable job. Okay, sometimes it does have a couple of really odd choices. For some reason, it seems to insist that I really like 1920s musicals. I have no idea what that's about. But, for the most part, it's fairly accurate. There are one or two, as I said, just weird choices there, but generally it's okay. And the same thing with most things, you make a decision, and Netflix is fairly good, so I don't really see why Microsoft are so proud. And one of the lines isn't an exact quote, but one of the lines is when he was flicking from the TV to the Xbox, he was like, Xbox TV, Xbox game, and he was like, you see how fast that is? And I honestly kind of batted my eyelid, just kind of done a really, Race? You're proud at the fact it can switch inputs in a reasonable fashion? A TV remote can do the same thing, my friend. And okay, sure, it can do it with the voice and the gestures and all of that, but I don't care, honestly. That's just me. Obviously, there might be someone out there that's really impressed with it and love it. Personally, I'm just not. I mean, I'm an old school gamer. I played on the Genesis. I played even before that, but I was really young, so I wasn't knowing really what I was doing, if that makes sense. I did own a Master System and a couple other systems before that, but I was so young I didn't really understand the gaming or whatever. I just owned them just for something to do, really. It wasn't until a little bit later that I started to get into gaming. And honestly speaking, I just didn't care about those features. Microsoft were really proud as well about the whole sports thing, and I'll be honest with you guys. Some of you may know this, regular viewers may know this. Maybe you don't. But I'm not really a sports fan. I don't do sports games. I don't watch sports. I'm from the UK, as you can probably tell by my accent, in case you're not a regular viewer. And I don't watch football. I don't hate it, I just don't find it interesting. Several of my friends are huge supporters of various teams. It just never really appealed to me. And that's despite the fact that my dad was a huge football fan as well, and all his friends. It just didn't appeal to me. Personally speaking, I love going to the gym and I love working out. I like, I'm actually a keen amateur bodybuilder. I do bodybuilding, and I like going for, cycling and all of that jazz, but it just doesn't interest me watching sport. I'll be honest. I don't mind watching the odd UFC event or whatever, but, all of these functions about your fantasy teams and stuff, I don't know how many people will be interested in that. I suppose there will be some people, like one of my friends I can instantly tell was probably drooling over the prospect of that. So obviously, you can't appeal to all of the people in the world. It's impossible. But Microsoft seem to be very keen on our device does everything, so someone is going to like the features. The problem with that approach is that then you start to water down those features, because invariably you cannot compete so well with a device that specializes in that. Now, Microsoft are definitely not alone in they feel a little bit odd right now, in that Nintendo, of course, are having similar issues. Some people are writing off Nintendo because they don't have a Blu-ray drive, for example. They don't have shiny HD graphics that are capable of rendering a blade of grass at higher resolutions than what the PlayStation could do with the entire image. But invariably, the thing is, you can't mistake the fact that it's a games machine. You can mistake the fact that some games are able to run on it, and I still question why Nintendo didn't decide to tune it up a little bit in terms of the power, but at least their message is clear. They are kind of going a better direction. They still need to clear things up, and I question some of Nintendo's decisions. Like, I still think the person who said that, you know what, we're going to start making money off anyone who uploads our content to YouTube and do content ID, I think that was absolutely stupid. I don't really understand that. That's a ridiculous decision in terms of business to me, because obviously they are struggling to get their own notoriety across. So that isn't to say that every company makes perfect decisions all of the time. So what about developers? Because obviously I'm just one person, and one of the developers of note, who would be Stuart Gilray, I think I pronounced that correctly. He is the boss of Oddworld developer. The Oddworld developer, Just Add Water. If I can get the words out, for some reason I'm struggling right now. I'm going to read an exact quote. Microsoft is attempting to be the one device in the living room, but at the same time as doing that, you have to have a secondary device, like a TiVo to HDMI, into the Xbox One to be able to use the TV side of it, which to me defeats the entire purpose. It's very confusing. Another example of this, this would be from Adrian Chalres. I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly. He is of the former Bulletstorm developer People Can Fly. He's very outspoken. He typically makes comments that maybe please or offend. He doesn't really seem to care that much, in other words. But I'll read out his exact quote. It's fairly lengthy, so bear with me. I don't want to talk to my TV. I don't want to wave my hands in front of my TV. I don't want to Skype with my friends while engaged in a game. That's not to say that Connect 2 is useless. I'm curious about the heartbeat thing, for one, but for now, I don't see anything too exciting. It's very hard for me to stay objective here. For example, with all due respect to Mr. Spielberg, a Halo TV series is not the reason for me to buy a $400 or whatever box. I got way more excited when I saw Jonathan Blow on the PS4 stage, not because of his game, but because of the message that Sony was sending this way. But look, I could go on forever about this or that feature, and about this or that element of the ecosystem. At the end of the day, I think the problem is not necessarily with the hardware or the features, but with the Unveil strategy itself. It's fine to start out with the known gaming stuff, then please gamers at E3, but I wish Microsoft were more clear and vocal about it and set the expectations right. Because we all wanted to see the future of gaming, and we got almost none of that. And what we got were weak pre-rendered movies that look worse than some of the games I have on my PC right now, or a dog, or a fish AI, and I have no reason to prefer any console over the other. Hell, I want them both to succeed. More platforms for our games, yay. But, to be honest, I don't think anyone from Sony lost any sleep. Now, this is out of context. This is the problem. I saw quite a lot of footage from the event, and indeed when the Call of Duty one was going on, the event just ended, the live stream just stopped. I don't know if you guys watched the event, I'm assuming you did, but basically the live stream just cut as soon as the Call of Duty thing ended, and I was like, that's it? And I was actually watching it with Amata, by the way. She came round and we were taking notes of the whole stream, because we thought it was going to be like this huge event that was going to last for ages. And we thought there were going to be all these games, and I don't know what we expected exactly, but it wasn't that. It kind of ended and we both exchanged a look, and I said, and she said, well, is that it? And I said, I think so. And just for a second, I actually thought my internet fell over or something, because I was having trouble just before that. I missed a couple of minutes of the unveiling at the very start because my internet fell over, and I thought, oh crap, not again. And then I just realised that no, the actual extra thing had just played, and no, that was it. And I literally scratched my head for a good few seconds, and I was like, is that it? Is that all the games you're going to show me? Are you serious, bro? I wanted to see more. I mean, okay, they've got Call of Duty, that's fantastic, and I have absolutely no problem with Call of Duty. I have no problem with Ghosts. I have no problem with any of that. Some people absolutely hate Call of Duty. I don't have a problem with the game. I quite like it. And I speak from the experience of someone who can barely maintain a 1-to-1 ratio in kills and deaths, because I suck at the game, but I don't have a problem with it. It's fun. I look at the game as an enjoyable series that I put in, 20 minutes here or 10 minutes there. I haven't played it in a while, having said that. And that's it. That's all there is to it. But it's great that Microsoft have EA as a partnership, but from what I understand, and obviously things are tentative right now, they get like an exclusive mode on FIFA. I don't know exactly how big of a deal that is to FIFA players. Maybe, you guys can comment on that. But let's say if you did buy a PlayStation, it's not like you're missing out on FIFA. And some of the graphics that I saw, I honestly, and this is my personal opinion, once again, I just want to illustrate that, I didn't think to myself, holy crap. A lot of the stuff I saw, I even said, I don't think it looks that great. I saw Forza, and it doesn't look bad. I'm not saying it looks bad, and bear in mind, it is pre-production. But when I saw Killzone, I actually genuinely thought to myself, and I've said this a couple of times, okay, this is what I expect from Next Generation. This is the kind of level basically, this is the kind of level that PCs are at right now. And obviously, there is a small disparity here and there. I've done an Unreal Tech video on the PS4. I've done a Killzone versus Crysis 3. That would be Crysis 3 on the PC, running at higher settings. And you guys can check those videos out if you so desire. But how can I put this? I was slightly more impressed with the PlayStation stuff. Now, that isn't to say that the PlayStation stuff, when I watched it, I was amazed. To me, it looks nice, but bear in mind, the PlayStation is really early in development. I was going through a analysis recently of the Killzone. I still need to do the lighting one. I will do it this weekend, I promise, guys. But of the rest of the stuff, like the textures and so on. And it's fairly obvious that the developers themselves are still getting their head around it. Gorilla, I'm sure it's Gorilla. I probably made that mistake. I'm sure it's the developer. My brain is turned to mush, sorry. But anyway, they're obviously still getting to grips with the hardware. They are not sure exactly how to get the most out of the memory. They're not really sure how to get the most out of the bandwidth, out of the GPU, and they themselves even admitted that, quite simply put, they're not even using the GPU to do some of the computational stuff. In other words, the actual AI and physics and stuff that can normally be offloaded to the GPU now because of the parallel processing and the way the PS4 is designed, they're still using the CPU to do it. And on their, in their defense, it's still going really well. As I said, they've got like 3 gigs of video, or should I say, images in there, 3 gigs of video memory, or 3 gigs of the RAM, should I say, is being taken up by images and textures and whatever else. So, obviously, in terms of memory, it could well be that the Xbox and the PS4 turn out to be a rough draw, so I'm not going to get too much into that. You can check out yesterday's video if you so wish. But Mummy's Best Games, who works for Nathan... Okay, let me start again. Mummy's Best Games employee Nathan Fouts also went on record, and he said, I think the most unusual and off-putting part of the entire announcement was the disassociation of games from the rest of the console, relegating the bulk of the games talk to E3. You could take this of one of 2 ways. 1, games are such a big, important part of the console that they need their own announcement. Woo, games and stuff. Or, 2, here's a video games console announcement that leads with talk of controlling your TV and watching sports where games can be dealt with later, as they're only a small portion of the bigger ambitions. So, what usually happens when a company talks about a new product, normally they lead with what they think are the most salient points, things that the company are interested in pushing, the things that they think the customers care about. Microsoft leading talk of Xbox One, he spelled Xbox One as in, the number 1 and then 1 as in ONE, with TV doesn't make me feel particularly loved as a gamer, nor as a games developer. Now, other opinions have been more mixed. So, for example, Slate has stated that just before he died, Steve Jobs told his biographer Walter Isaacson about his dream for the revolutionizing television. Today, I saw something very close to Steve Jobs' dream device, just like he envisioned. This machine turns itself into the hub of your living room. It plays video games, Blu-ray discs, TV shows, and everything you could possibly want from the internet. It switches between this stuff seamlessly. You can forget about the input button. And it does this with the simplest user interface imaginable, an eerily accurate voice recognition system that is far more intuitive than remote control. Before you say anything, though, you've got to say its name, Xbox. Darren Murph, meanwhile, from Engadget, has said, I'll go ahead and say it, I love the look of the Xbox One, it reminds me of the original, and more than that, it's not trying to be futuristic for the sake of it. I wish the whole thing was doused with a matte coating, but it's pretty clever design overall. Now we're beyond that, I think it's going to be an excellent system if it sells for under 400, including a Blu-ray drive, was a great step forward, and the graphic powers is obviously laudable. So, and this is out of quote, so obviously certain people love it, certain people hate it. Some people have been absolutely ranking on the system, saying it looks like a VCR and stuff. Honestly speaking, it does look a little bit like a VCR, but I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I personally don't have an issue with how a console looks, as long as it's not really, offensive. I actually didn't mind even the look of the original Xbox. I know I'm probably in the minority there, but it worked for me. I actually had one of the clear ones, the crystal clear ones where you could see all the circuits and stuff. It's pretty damn awesome, actually. Wish I hadn't sold it now. I kind of regret that. There have been other issues. Obviously, you've got the too much focus on TV, and I can kind of understand that. I honestly don't want a Skype call if I'm watching TV. Boy, if I get a bloody phone call while I'm watching an episode of Dexter or Game of Thrones, you better believe your ass is going on mute, because I'm not going to answer that for love nor money. Unless it's like an incredibly important phone call, and then I'll begrudgingly answer it, but I'm not going to answer it otherwise. And even if it's a sports event, as I said, I watched the odd UFC match here and there. I'm not going to take my eyes off of it to give you a Skype call. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. I want to watch the match that I've either paid for, or I've stayed up until 3 a.m. because I'm in the UK, or, whatever. Even if it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I would want to watch the fight. I don't want to, look at you waving your hands about on Skype and then miss, someone getting elbowed, because that's the reason I'm watching it. And it's the same, of course, for anything like that. It's the same as I'm not going to be playing games and Skype at the same time. It just doesn't make sense. Even if I was playing an RTS, for example, you take your eyes off of the screen for like 3 seconds in something like a high-speed game of, let's go with StarCraft 2, it's not going to go too well for you. So anyway, before we continue on with this little tirade, let's talk about what developers are saying. Now, the indie developers, shall I say, to clarify, are not happy with Microsoft's recent decisions. There was a recent decision by Microsoft to not change the relationship between indie developers and the way they publish games and Microsoft. So quite simply put, if you're an indie gamer, I'm going to simplify this and just get it out in a couple of seconds, but let's say you are an indie gamer and I am Microsoft. You say to me, okay, Mr. Microsoft, I would like to publish my game on your system. I say to you, well, that's nice. Could you get a publisher, please? Or you have to publish it through us. You cannot simply self-publish. I'm going to read out a quote from Strike Suit Zero's developer, Born Ready Games. His name is James Brooksby. As an independent developer, our involvement with Xbox is hampered by Microsoft's policy to only allow publishers to publish on the console. This is a long-ass quote, but this was given to Eurogamer. This has to be the biggest frustration with the development community. The inability to get a game's range directly onto Xbox developers are able to do so much these days, reach consumers directly, use their input to try new things, respond quickly to updates and enhancements, run successful marketing campaigns. In short, they could be in charge of their own destiny. It's a shame that while other platforms are becoming more and more open, with new ones still appearing, the Xbox One is still tied to a policy from the earlier era. Given how vibrant the indie games scene is right now, feels like a lost opportunity to prevent Xbox gamers from having access to a wealth of innovative new gaming content that's out there. The independent scene has never been so alive and diverse simply because of the variety of open platforms that are available, and the ease in which the developers and communities can interact. For us, the real question is, will indie games, have a market all on the Xbox One? We want this to be the case. We want to put our games on as many platforms as possible and reach gamers wherever they are. We can only hope that in time, the current policies towards independent developers will be reviewed at Microsoft. This isn't the only, this is out of quote, this isn't the only problem that indie developers have had. Just Addwater have accused Microsoft of deliberately blocking the release of Oddworld Stranger's Wrath on the Xbox 360. You guys can Google that. I'm not going to bother to read all those quotes out because it will take quite a while. So that's a problem as well, because honestly speaking, PlayStation are really encouraging indie developers. They weren't for a while. And this was also a byproduct of the rather frustrating design of the PlayStation 3. It was a pain in the ass to develop for, quite simply. But fortunately, they released better tools, and now they're basically best buddies. They are BFFs, if you will, with the developer scene. And you have to be. Because, quite simply put, as I've mentioned a trillion times now, you're probably sick of me using the words, but Minecraft, Amnesia, Terraria, you just don't know what is going to be a big hit. And honestly speaking, EA, EA, Capcom, those companies, they have a reasonable relationship with the gamers, but the biggest relationship is often indies, and quite often, I've had a couple of requests from indie developers because they've wanted me to cover a game, or they've wanted me to cover, a piece of news or whatever. And I do it because it's a symbiotic relationship I have with them. Their games are slightly less known, so obviously if I help them out, I gain a bit more notoriety because maybe less channels are covering it. And it's also good to help indie developers because then obviously they will be able to go on to produce better games. It's a rather simple process actually. They need to sell the games to feed their families or to be able to work on a new project. Developing games, especially the more complicated and convoluted ones, is not cheap. It's not a simple case of one person can do everything at most of these times as well. Obviously, you get the odd game where it's only a 1 or 2 person team, but when you start getting even into slightly complicated territories, like, say, Amnesia, it becomes a labour of love, quite honestly, and some of the conditions that they are working in, even in Metro The Last Light, you could go ahead and read about the developer themselves. There were some comments actually that they were basically working in squalor, and they are by no means an indie developer. That's the problem that, we're starting to see right now. Now, there are reasons Microsoft are going this route. There are reasons. One of them is a quality assurance. And I don't just mean quality as in the game doesn't crash or whatever. We're also talking about quality as in, look, if you can get the game approved by a publisher or Microsoft, then there's a good chance your game will sell. Because obviously they have an eye of what's going to sell and what's not going to sell. So there is that, they don't want their platform clogging up with an absolute dire amount of crap. And that was one of the problems actually that the original PlayStation 1 had. There were so many games developed for the PlayStation 1 at the start, and some of them had budgets of, a cup of coffee, basically. They were really bad. Is No Good is actually what, and I kid you not, Is No Good is the name of the game. I'm pretty sure they chose that deliberately. I'm sure that's a pun because the game was absolutely shockingly terrible. And that's by no means the only title, because it was pretty easy to develop for. Obviously, there's the infamous black PlayStation. I can't remember the name of it offhand, but you could basically use it as a development platform. It's a bit more expensive than the original PlayStation. I think it's cost about £500, £400, something like that. And it came with the development kit and some instructions, and you could basically, write your own PlayStation games should you so desire, and so forth. But obviously, it's even easier now. It really is a lot easier for indie developers to do this because, especially since the architectures of the Xbox One and the PS4 are getting so close to PC. I think it's going to be a very, very, very difficult thing for Microsoft right now. They've really, in my opinion, set off on the wrong foot with gamers. The bottom line is, gamers want to feel, well, like they're gamers. I know that's a really silly statement, and it might be like, duh, kind of thing, but I don't want to feel like the machine I'm buying is not a games machine. I want to feel like the machine I'm buying is a games machine and it does this other stuff as an aside. I'll give you an example of that. The original PlayStation 2. When I bought the PS2, I didn't buy it because it had a DVD player. It was a DVD player as well. I bought the PlayStation 2 because of games on the PS2 or games that were coming out on the PS2. I didn't think to myself at the time, well, you know what, gee whiz, this is a nice DVD player. I suppose I can play your PlayStation game here. No, I didn't. The same as I bought my PlayStation 3 because it, well, has PlayStation 3 games on it. I can play, Fall of Man, I could play Killzone, I can play The Last of Us. Obviously, these titles weren't out then, or some of them weren't. I can play Uncharted, I can play whatever I want to play. I've got access to the PlayStation library of games. That's why I bought it. As an aside, I was happy that I could play Blu-rays, but it wasn't the reason I bought the console. Obviously, that it can also play music and various other bits and bobs as well. I don't use those functions. I have dozens of different ways of playing audio and music if I really want to. And with the whole TV thing, I've got Netflix, I've got cable in my house, I've got all of these options. I don't need another device to plug into all of these devices to allow me to play these devices when they already do a fine job of it on their own. I just don't care about that stuff. As I've said, maybe you do. Maybe it absolutely excites you. Maybe you love the idea of being able to use these voice commands. The other problem is the amount of care that Microsoft seems to give towards Kinect. I don't care about Kinect. That's not to say that it doesn't have some nice functionality. The heartbeat stuff could be cool in survival horror games. It could also be cool in, say, boxing games and that type of fun stuff. But as a general rule of thumb, I don't want that stuff. Even with the Wii, the original Wii controller, I didn't really like it that much. A couple of my friends, when they first started to play the Wii, because they bought it on release day, I bought mine a bit later on. But the reason I bought mine was for different games than what they bought theirs, to be fair. But they loved it at the start. They really did. I've had several that did this. They loved it, and they were like, "Oh, look at this! This is so awesome! I can wave the controller." Blah 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 blah. However, the novelty started to wear off. Now, obviously, with Kinect, it's far more accurate than the original Wii controller. But I just don't care about that stuff that much. This whole pinch to zoom and stuff like that, it's just not that helpful to me. It just doesn't do anything for me. I don't want to use picture-in-picture with gaming. Sometimes it could be somewhat useful. For example, if I could load Internet Explorer, shudder. I was watching, I was like, why can't it be Firefox? Tell me I can install Firefox or Chrome or anything else, please. Please, Mr. Microsoft. Please. I suppose I could use it, and let's say, I don't know, I'm stuck on a boss, so I want to Google how to do it, or I'm playing Elder Scrolls 6 or whatever. It's not announced yet, I'm just using it as an example. And I don't know where to find a quest, so I could Google it or whatever. That could be nice, I suppose, or I'm watching a TV show and I know this actor or actress from somewhere and I cannot place them. It's driving me nuts. I'll IMDb it. That could be somewhat helpful. But honestly, in those cases, I've got a cell phone. I could do that if I really so desire. My TV is hooked up to my PC as well, so I could do it that way if I so wish. There are dozens of different ways to access this stuff that doesn't really require me to do any of the complexities that we're talking about. So yeah, I wish. Hopefully, Microsoft will really kick ass when it comes to the gaming side of things. I really hope they do. Obviously, there has also been some talk about Microsoft's share prices dwindling a little while Sony's go up. Now, I don't exactly know how big the drop was because I got it as it was news was a bit old and I did briefly look, but I think it was about 0.7% or something. I can't remember exactly. I'm not going to bother to Google it. You guys can do that if you want. So I think it's about 1.4% total if you include Sony's and Microsoft's rise and fall respectively. But I think obviously Microsoft are aware of this. I think they're also aware of some of the memes that are always going about right now. I mean, with the whole Xbox One thing, I just don't understand why they chose that name. I mean, this is being really pernickety, but I don't understand why they chose that name at all. I know it's the all-in-one device and everything, but you've already released one console with the name Xbox. So that's just extra, that's just even worse. And don't even get me started on the used game fiasco. I'm actually going to be doing another video on this later on today, possibly tomorrow, because I really want to do a whole rant on the used game thing, but right now, they don't seem to know what the hell is going on with the used game thing, because they either know and they're just not telling us, or, well, yeah, they don't know. It's that simple. It's one of those two things. Right now, as far as I understand from reading this morning's news, apparently if they are a retailer, and this is a physical retailer, that is a partner and has access to the Microsoft Cloud, you can trade in your game. So let's say you have the new Halo or whatever, and you have Killerthon 3000, and you want to trade in Killerthon 3000 because you have played Killerthon 3000, you want to trade it in, you will take it in, you will take your physical copy in, they will somehow access your account, they will take off Killerthon 3000 from your physical machine, they will give you a certain fee, and that's pretty much it. In regards to, I now want to buy Killerthon 3000 used, you will have to pay a set fee on top of that, or something like that, so you have to pay them a set fee, and then you have to pay set fee to activate the game as well, or something like that. So now some people are saying that if you buy a used game, you'll need to pay an activation fee of £35. Although this fee is going up and down all the time. Some people are saying it's too high, some people are saying it's too less. I don't even know what the hell's going on there. That isn't a good thing. I absolutely detest as well the requirement for online. I've ranted about this already, so I'm not going to go too heavily into this, but I just don't like it. I don't want to need to access the internet within 24 hours. If I'm taking my friend around, a console around a friend's house, I don't want to say to him, hey, dude, I need to access your internet, or we can't play this game. And he'll say to me, what do you mean? Well, yeah. You know how I've been here for about 18, 19 hours now? Well, the last time I went online with my console was about, 4 or 5 hours before I came around your house, dude. So, yeah, we can't actually, we're going to get locked out if we don't, say, what's your Wi-Fi password, please? Or, can I just plug this thing into Ethernet or something? And you'll be like, oh, okay then. I don't know where my Wi-Fi password is. Hang on, let me go look for it. I, of course, have been a bit silly here, but still, why? I've bought the bloody thing. It's just a pain, and I don't like that. Just come on now, make it easy. Even if you have this this hell-bent desire that we have to be connected, I don't want to be connected just to play a single-player game. It's that simple. I don't like it. And right now, some people are saying that the always-on is not required. Other people have said, yes, you need to connect every 24 hours. That as a Microsoft employee. But once again, even this stuff keeps changing all the time. It's like, the bloody wind. I think I've changed my underwear less in the past 15 years than what they have the story, because it literally, every time you read something, they change their mind on it, and it shows to me that they're not really 100% certain. It's almost like they're testing the water in some respects. And yeah, so anyway, I could keep ranting about this stuff, or keep giving my opinion on this stuff honestly speaking, the Xbox One has some really great potential. It does. I just don't understand some of the stuff they're doing. The Xbox 360 to me was a fantastic console because of the games on it. The Xbox One, same thing. I loved Halo. Gears of War, and all of these titles. They made the console fantastic. I played the original Fable on Xbox. I played Gears of War, loved the game. I loved all these titles, and that's the reason I want it. And I know Microsoft, I know that their partners can produce absolutely fantastic quality, awesome games, and that's what I want them to be focusing on. I really want to be surprised at E3. I want to go and make an apology video. I want to set myself up for making a video and say, dudes, you know what, guys? I absolutely, positively take back everything I said. Microsoft are all about the games. This TV stuff is just, it's nice, but that's not really what they're going for. The games are what really sells it. And, that's why I'm going to be making another video after E3, because I want to see how Microsoft handle a lot of this negativity that's coming their way from not just, myself and some of you guys as well. I mean, I'm not going to drop names. You can check out the Facebook page. That's Red Gaming Tech Facebook. So just facebook.com/redgamingtech. And some of the comments and messages that we've got on the announcement, one guy, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to obviously give real names over the channel, but especially when it's not even my own. But the guy actually said, "What the hell's that?" And that's by no means the only comment I've had similar. I've actually had messages saying, just scratching their head. So yeah, I want Microsoft to clarify a lot of stuff. I want them to be clear on it. I don't want this used game thing to be such a fiasco. I don't want the always-on requirements to be so draconian. I do not want them to focus so much on the television stuff. Yes, it's nice. Yes, it's cool. But it's not the purpose of it. Anyway, this has been a ridiculously lengthy video, so I can only apologise for that. But I have troubles with, I have troubles to be even slightly, let's go with quick in my opinion. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you soon. Take care, and bye for now.